Dr. Gay, a Harvard student calling for the mass murder of African Americans is not protected free speech at Harvard, correct?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Is that corrected? Is that okay for students to call for the mass murder of African Americans at Harvard? Is that protected free speech?
Our commitment to free speech
It's a yes or no question. Let me ask you this. You are president of Harvard, so I assume you're familiar with the term intifada, correct?
I've heard that term, yes.
And you understand that the use of the term intifada in the context of the Israeli-Arab conflict is indeed a call for violent armed resistance against the state of Israel, including violence against civilians and the genocide of Jews. Are you aware of that?
That type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
And there have been multiple marches at Harvard with students chanting, quote, "There is only one solution, intifada revolution," and, quote, "globalize the intifada." Is that correct?
I've heard that thoughtless, reckless, and hateful language on our campus, yes.
So based upon your testimony, you understand that this call for intifada is to commit genocide against the Jewish people in Israel and globally, correct?
I will say again, that type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Do you believe that type of hateful speech is contrary to Harvard's code of conduct, or is it allowed at Harvard?
It is at odds with the values of Harvard.
Can you
But
not say here that it is against the code of conduct at Harvard?
We embrace a commitment to free expression, even of views that are objectionable, offensive, hateful. It's when that speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies against bullying, harassment,
Does that speech not cross that barrier? Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
When
you testify that you understand that is the definition of intifada. Is that speech according to the code of conduct or not?
We embrace a commitment to free expression and give a wide berth to free expression, even of views that are objectionable.
You and I both know that's not the case. You are aware that Harvard ranked dead last when it came to free speech. Are you not aware of that report?
As I observed earlier, I reject that characterization.
It's the data shows it's true. And isn't it true that Harvard previously rescinded multiple offers of admissions for applicants and accepted freshmen for sharing offensive memes, racist statements, sometimes as young as 16 years old? Did Harvard not rescind those offers of admission?
That long predates my time as president.
But you understand that Harvard made that decision to rescind those offers of admission?
I have no reason to contradict the facts as you present them.
Correct,
here.
Because it's a fact. You're also aware that a Winthrop House faculty dean was let go over who he chose to legally represent, correct? That was while you were dean.
That is an incorrect characterization of what transpired.
What's the characterization?
I'm not going to get into details about a personnel matter.
Well, let me ask you this. Will admissions offers be rescinded or any disciplinary action be taken against students or applicants who say, "From the river to the sea" or "Intifada," advocating for the murder of Jews?
As I've said, that type of hateful, reckless, offensive speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Today that no action will be taken. What action will be taken?
When speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies, including policies against bullying, harassment, or intimidation, we take action, and we have robust disciplinary processes that allow us to hold individuals accountable.
What action has been taken against students who are harassing and calling for the genocide of Jews on Harvard's campus?
I can assure you we have robust
what actions have been taken? I'm not asking
actions underway.
I'm asking what actions have been taken against those students.
Given students' rights to privacy and our obligations under FERPA, I will not say more about any specific cases other than to reiterate that processes are ongoing.
Do you know what the #1 hate crime in America is?
I know that over the last couple of months, there has been an alarming rise of antisemitism, which I understand is the critical topic that we are here to discuss.
That's correct. It is anti-Jewish hate crimes. And Harvard ranks the lowest when it comes to protecting Jewish students. This is why I've called for your resignation, and your testimony today, not being able to answer with moral clarity, speaks volumes. I yield back.
The representative from Michigan, Ms. McLean, is recognized.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here today. I listened to your opening statement, and we all talked so passionately about what was happening on the college campuses as it pertains to anti-Semitism is absolutely unacceptable, and I appreciate that. However, talk is cheap, and we really need action. So what I'd like to talk a little bit about today is what actual action items, not lip service, but action items have happened. So I'll start with you. President Gay, under your leadership, Harvard has done little to condemn Hamas's brutal murder of women and children, promote Israel's right to defend itself, or protect Jewish students from harassment. For example, I'm curious, what action was taken from Harvard when a Jewish student was mobbed on your campus last month? Action, not lip service action, ma'am.
So this specific incident, I've communicated about publicly. So as you may know, that is an incident that is currently under investigation by HUPD and the FBI.
Any action?
And when that investigation is complete,
so you can't
we will
answer.
address
I'm
it
going to
through
move
a
on to my
student
next
disciplinary
question. Do you have an action item or not as of this time? Was any action taken? Any action?
I can't share more about.
Will these students intimidating Jewish students just because they are Jewish be expelled from the university?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your question.
Will the students who are intimidating Jewish students just because they're Jewish be expelled?
You're describing conduct that sounds like it would violate our policies against bullying and intimidation and harassment. And if that is the case, it would be addressed through our policies.
Another question. Why did you allow protesters to occupy University Hall for 24 hours? And not only were these students not punished, but two of your deans provided them with food and promised no disciplinary action would be taken. And that was reported by the Harvard Crimson.
I can assure you that we have very strong disciplinary processes, and where conduct violates our policies, we use those policies.
So did conduct violate your policies during that incident?
We have disciplinary processes underway.
So is there an answer to that or not?
We have disciplinary processes underway.
So was any discipline action? I love the lip service. I do. And you academic, I love that. I'm looking for an action item. Yes, no. Was anybody expelled? Any action item. And if you don't know, that's okay too.
We hold our community to account.
All right, I'll reclaim my
policies.
Time. Thank you, President McGill. Under your tenure, swastikas have been drawn outside residence halls where Jewish students live. The Hillel House was broken into. Jewish students urged not to wear symbols of their ethnicity, and those same students harassed when they go to collect kala for Shabbat. I will be submitting questions for the record on outbreaks of anti-Semitism at UPenn. And I look forward to your response because obviously 5 minutes is just way too short of an answer. But I would encourage you to give answers. We deserve answers. People deserve answers, not rhetoric, action items. It is clear that the Jewish students on all of your campuses are afraid to be themselves because you have refused to take real action. There's that word, action, against anti-Semitism, right? A lot of rhetoric, no action. I strongly encourage all of you to look at the Holocaust learning experience set up by Morris Life Health System in Florida to teach lessons from the actual Holocaust to students in 5th through 12th grade. This program has trained hundreds of teachers in 2 short years and has gone a long way to teaching students about the harm anti-Semitism has in our community. Harvard, UPenn, and MIT, I think y'all could learn a little bit about this. With the remainder of my time, I will yield to Ms. Stefanik.
Thank you, Mr. Comer. Mr. Burleson, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the witnesses that are here today. In response to the ongoing harassment of Jewish students, including supporting a quote, National Day of Resistance. The Anti-Defamation League and sent a letter to colleges and universities around the country urging them to investigate the activities of their local campus chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine. Several universities followed through with that, and as a result, some universities kicked those chapters off their campuses. In some instances, Columbia University suspended the SJP and the Jewish Voice for Peace. What steps have your universities taken to address the Students for Justice in Palestine? Dr. Gay.
Thank you for the question. So, as I indicated earlier, I reject so much of the hateful and reckless speech.
I don't want to I just want to know, have you taken any steps, have you followed suit with these other universities to remove this hateful organization from your campus?
We do not punish students for their views, but we hold them accountable for their conduct and behavior. And any conduct that violates our rules against bullying, harassment, or intimidation, we take action.
So your answer is no. Doesn't it concern you that your policies say that intimidation is a factor for removal, and yet this group clearly their very presence is an intimidating factor to Israeli students? Do you have any concerns?
I'm concerned about students who don't feel safe and welcome on our campus, and wanting to make sure, and I want to make sure that they receive all the support that they need. And when other students transgress and violate our policies, they will be held accountable.
Thank you. Ms. McGill, can you tell me, at your university, have you taken actions to remove the Students for Justice in Palestine?
Thanks for the question, Representative Burleson. We have similar policies, which is that any organized student group must comply with the rules of the university, and if they have violated those rules, they can be non-recognized.
Okay. And then Mrs. Kornbluth, same question.
So as far as I know, we do not have an SJP chapter. We do have students who are allied with, are interested in advocating for the Palestinian cause, but we are not aware of any national links of that group.
The next line of inquiry has to do with the lack of reporting standards when it comes to these foreign contributions, as was mentioned by my colleague. I understand that Harvard and MIT are under Section 117 investigations. A New York Post article just recently revealed that MIT received over $859 million in foreign funding. I think Harvard received similar numbers, nearly $900 million. And as was stated, some of this money is coming from countries in the Middle East that have a history of large contributions to fund these academic centers called the Middle East Studies Centers. Has Harvard taken any money to fund the Middle East Study Centers?
We receive support from a variety of sources, and our alumni are all over the world, including in the Middle East, who support our activities on campus.
Well, an analysis has indicated that there is a direct correlation between the universities that have received money for these Middle East study centers and the activity of the SJP. So I would highly encourage you to examine, and I'll just ask it directly. Is it because of the money that you're receiving from these foreign countries that you're not kicking these hate groups off campus?
Our donors do not influence how we run the university, how we enforce our policies, or how we keep our students safe.
Thank you. I yield the rest of my.
Before I ask my questions, let me do some housekeeping. Under Committee Rule 9, we'll now question witnesses under the 5-minute rule. I remind members that I'll strictly enforce the 5-minute rule. So members are advised to keep your questions succinct so the witnesses have time to answer. Please don't talk for 4 minutes and then ask the witness a question. We've heard from many students that they do not feel safe. You've talked about that in your statements. But the anti-Semitism we've seen on your campuses didn't come out of nowhere. There are cultures at your institutions that foster it because you have faculty and students who hate Jews, hate Israel, and are comfortable apologizing for terror. How did your campuses get this way? What is it about the way that you hire faculty and approve curriculum that's allowing your campuses to be infected by this intellectual and moral rot? President Gay, I'm going to ask you to give me a brief answer. I also would invite you to follow up with more in writing, and we will follow up with you. So I will go down the line, President Gay, then President McGill, and President Kornbluth.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman Fox. Again, anti-Semitism has no place at Harvard. When we recruit faculty, we do so with the understanding that they are joining a community where we honor, celebrate, and nurture open discourse, both on the campus and in the classroom. And to be a successful teacher and educator at Harvard requires the ability to draw out all of the viewpoints and voices in your classroom, irrespective of one's political views. And we devote significant resources to training our faculty in that pedagogical skill and to prioritizing that in our recruiting and hiring.
Thank you. Ms. McGill.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the question. I'm troubled by what you're reporting about the culture of the institutions that we're leading. Very contrary to the values that I hold as a leader of University of Pennsylvania, as well as the institution, where any form of hate is very contrary to our values. I would venture and answer Chairwoman Fox that anti-Semitism has a role in the broader society, and that's what we're seeing happening in the society and on our campuses. And I'm committed to combating it in immediate term and the long term.
Thank you. Dr. Kornbluth.
Yes, so MIT is a majority STEM education and research institution, and we are devoted to solving the problems that face society. Our faculty are hired for their brilliance. Now, we allow them to say what they'd like in the classroom in the name of free expression, but we are committed to having them know that that our campus must be a welcoming and inclusive environment. And although they may say what they like in the classroom academically, targeting any individual student, harassing or discriminating is strictly forbidden in our classrooms and on campus.
Thank you. We will be following up with asking for specific plans for disciplining student and faculty who assault or harass students or prevent them from accessing undisrupted classes or campus spaces. We'll be asking for your plan for preventing this rot from perpetuating, how you're going to hire and assess instructors, how will you change how you govern students, and what are the practical steps you will plan to take. I want to ask you one more question. As I've said, and Ms. McGill, I appreciate the fact that you feel concerned about my feeling about the fundamental culture on the campuses that's foundational to this issue, denial of the right of Israel to exist. So I want to ask each one of you, President Gay, do you believe that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish nation?
I agree that the state of Israel has the right to exist.
Ms. McGill, same question.
I agree, Chairwoman Fox, the state of Israel has the right to exist.
Dr. Kornbluth.
Absolutely. Israel has the right to exist.
I want to thank our witnesses again for being here and to say we will follow up and to tell you that while we've talked about a larger culture out there, it's the universities who should be examples of what this nation is all about. I yield.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Gay, I'd like to direct my questions to you, if that's okay. In an open letter to members of the Harvard community that's posted on Harvard's website, you stated the following, quote, "Anti-Semitism has no place at Harvard," end quote. You also said, quote, "We are committed to doing the hard work to address the scourge," end quote. Just moments ago, when Representative Kiley asked you questions, you reaffirmed one of those statements and said, "There is no place at Harvard for anti-Semitism." Will you now reaffirm those statements today with me?
Yes.
Good. Are these mere words, or is Harvard willing to put action behind these words?
We are acting on that commitment.
Tell me how you're acting on that commitment in a very specific manner.
Well, to begin with the immediate actions that are focused on the physical security of our students in our campus, there's enhanced police presence, 24/7 threat monitoring, coordination with local, state, and federal law enforcement, and when necessary, we close the gates of Harvard Yard so that outside actors are limited in their ability to use our campus as a platform.
When you talk about outside actors, let's talk about the inside actors. So you've had a number of students and student organizations that have made many anti-Semitic statements in the past few months and past years, frankly, and it's gone, in my opinion, without any response from the university. President Gay, a report by AMCHA Initiative for the 2021-2022 academic year, found that Harvard saw the most anti-Semitic incidents, that's 25, of any university surveyed. You were dean at the time, correct?
Sorry, what was the date?
2021 and 2022.
Yes, I was. I was dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, yes.
In 2022, after the editors of the Harvard Crimson endorsed the anti-Semitic BDS movement, which seeks the destruction of Israel, a group of 49 faculty penned a letter defending the Crimson editors. Did you ever speak out against BDS during that time?
The university and I am clear in our positions about BDS. We do not support that position. It's counter to academic freedom and at odds with the openness that is part of our strength as an institution.
Well, when you said earlier and you reaffirmed to me the statement, "There's no place at Harvard for anti-Semitism." Well, those words really ring meaningless if those folks remain at Harvard that promote anti-Semitism. Would you agree?
We do not sanction individuals for their political views or their speech. When that speech crosses into conduct that violates our behavior-based policies, bullying, harassment, and intimidation, we take action.
Have any students been expelled or disciplined for bullying, harassment, or these actions that you're listing?
I can assure you we have robust student disciplinary processes.
No. I did not ask about your process. I asked if any students had been disciplined or removed from Harvard as a result of the bullying and the harassment that's taken place based on their anti-Semitic views in the past months since the October 7th attack.
We consistently apply our policies.
So have any students, can you give me a number? Has it been 2, 10, 20? Or have there been 0 students that have been actually disciplined for their activity, not their speech, their activity?
Students have been held to account for any episode in which they violated our behavior-based policies.
Do you know approximately how many of those students have been held to account in your mind? Or is that something you're going to keep from public view? I'm not asking for the identification of students. I just want to know how many students actually have been held to a disciplinary standard.
I'm happy to have my office follow up with some specific numbers if that would be helpful to you.
That would be very helpful. I'm frankly surprised that you can't appear before this body going to talk about this issue and not be prepared to tell us whether or not any students, or to the extent or how many, have actually been disciplined for their anti-Semitic behavior in the past months. But you can't tell me that?
What I can assure you is that we use our policies, we use our processes, and we hold students to account for their behavior.
Recently, a coalition of student groups on your campus posted an open letter that placed the sole blame of the Hamas attack on Israel. In fact, in that letter, they said, quote, that they...
Thank you, sir. The gentleman's time's expired.
I yield back. Thank you.